Good evening, citizens of the mega city. I'm Judge Hootie, and this video is about one average street judge experiencing the world of Wasteland 3. The good, the bad, and the loading. So stay tuned. It's judgment time. In the day-to-day life of a judge, you see a lot of things. Good, bad, funny, sad. You see people break the law. You deal with victims of crimes, and you make judgments according to the law and for the harmony of the mega city. And you get to see the results of those decisions, for better or worse. It can take a while, but you will see the results. Wasteland 3 is like this too. It will give you options a few hours into the game that won't take effect for a long time. Sometimes it gives you an immediate reaction. I spent around 50 hours in the Wasteland, going in blind just like my career as a judge, and I tried to follow the law to provide a better world for those in the Wasteland. Without spoiling things, it did not work out how I envisioned, and the end result left me as a gamer happy, but as a judge, I was frustrated with how it went down. Wasteland 3 is my first dive into the series, and lacking knowledge of the previous games didn't lower my enjoyment. I felt I knew the world fairly quickly, and set about bringing law to the lawless. Wasteland 3 is a post-apocalyptic... I don't need the voice for this. Wasteland 3 is a post-apocalyptic RPG with a turn-based combat system which allows you time to make decisions in the heat of battle whilst the entire world is frozen around you. Which is not something us judges get to do in our day-to-day life, so it's a great feeling to be able to sit back and take all the time in the world to make a decision in safety. You play the role of a ranger. The person part of the rangers is there to help out those in need and to mete out justice, it seems. It appeared fitting to me as a judge to take on this role. At the opening of the game, you are sent to Colorado to assist the Patriarch, who in turn would give you much needed resources for your home base in Arizona. But without giving anything away, things go sideways and you need to fight your way through to safety. The world setting is dirty and worn down and has a real Wild West feel to it. Plenty of scrap everywhere and Mad Max-esque settings, with certain areas being littered with human debris. With a literal life is cheap mentality from certain aspects of society and an us versus them feeling from others. The characters in the world all have a story to tell, in small or large part, and I wanted to know more about them. From the world-weary doctor, with a special patient that I never got to know more about, to the wheelchair-bound diving helmet-wearing gift you meet later in the game. And possibly the world's friendliest cannibals. You start the game with 2 playable characters, but will very quickly be able to max out your roster with a further 2 handmade characters, or with other characters you come across in the game who will offer to join your party. You can decide where to take them or to leave them. Each of your handmade characters will also be able to have a hand-selected bunch of skills and attributes, as well as a background and a quirk to spice things up a bit. Playing through the game blind meant that I did not optimally choose my skills, and had some characters overlapping with others, meaning that I had skill points that were technically wasted. And quirks are a once-only choice at the creation of the character, which can offer a nice bonus, but will also tag that character with a negative trait as well. That's a double-edged sword. When your character levels up, you'll get a bunch of points to spend. These are set for skills, perks, and attributes. Skills set how good you are at each in-game mechanic, such as small arms, nerd stuff, first aid, lockpicking, etc. The perks then offer bonuses to those skills. In this game though, if you don't like one perk in a tree, you're not forced to take it, and can bypass it as long as you have the required skill level. Attributes boost things like your to-hit chance, charisma, luck and strength, etc. Certain things will require a minimum skill or attribute level to equip. It's a good idea in my opinion to make sure your party has at least one person skilled in each area so that you can cover all the bases when out in the world. So, for example, have one character set to be your locksmith, one to be your explosives expert for mine clearance, one sneaky git to take out certain alarms and traps, and one mechanic to deal with all the generators. And there is one skill I'm just getting to use now in my second run through, and that is toaster repair, which allows you, strangely enough, to fix toasters. These pop up in the game and can give you some great loot, so keep an eye out. My experience with combat throughout the game felt progressive in a good way. I felt my power levels rising, and my characters went from taking beatings in fights where single hits would floor me, letting me know they were fragile, to then gradually learning the system through playing, to the point where I had characters that would be able to line up one-shot arcs of fire which would obliterate multiple opponents. This made you feel like you'd progressed and were a force to be reckoned with. But then there were fights later in the game where sheer numbers of opponents would threaten to overwhelm you, or you'd get cocky and walk into a fight with something far larger than you should have, bringing that challenge back. Gold Scorpitron, anyone? I enjoyed this throughout, and the weapons scaled up with me going through the game as well. By the time I came round to the endgame situation, I have to say I felt overpowered, and was able to deal with the situation fairly quickly, but I did feel like I'd earned that right by then. The combat itself is XCOM-esque, with turn-based actions costing action points, but allowing you to spend points how you want. You are able to sneak up on certain fights as well, to set up an ambush. Sometimes you get no choice and get jumped and have to react. Always keep your head on a swivel. Danger is out there in the mega city. Sorry. The weapon choices are plentiful, from straight firing pistols and sniper rifles, to flamethrowers, and even frozen ferret launchers. Yeah, that's a thing. Each of these having its own style of damage that will be effective against one or many enemies. By the end of the game, I had a shotgun user who could clean a room in a single firing action, and it felt very satisfying melting faces at that point. But there would also be certain battle settings where I could not do this without also shredding my own troops, so I would need to change up weapons used. The sound in the game was a strong point for me. It felt atmospheric and fitting, and the music would come in from various sources depending on whether or not you were in a set battle, a primary mission, or a location. At times the game would be silent, and this added to the Wasteland experience, only for a random track to suddenly start playing. One of my favourite tracks was a cover of Land of Confusion, which started playing on the radio when I was exploring the Wasteland. It was a real mood-setting moment for me in the game, and one small thing I really do remember fondly. The weapon sounds are also meaty when it counted, and scaled up throughout the game, and were very satisfying, giving each weapon that real weighty feeling. But I was not able to select ammo type by voice command. That's a Judge staple. I'm really sorry. The voice acting from the metric shit ton of characters was also greatly appreciated, and gave even more depth to the world for me.
Let me guess. Assholes that shot my boys. Well, I'm not looking for a bullet in the face, so you can fuck right the hell off. Oh wait, don't. Guns are cheap, but good doors are replaceable. Alright, come in. But I'm no helpless in here, I'm warning you.
From the first NPC I saved being green and wet behind the ears, to the Patriarch's heavier Ron Perlman-esque performance. As you must know, a judge voice is very important. If I approach someone sounding like Michael Jackson, I'm getting no respect. I go in there sounding like the Perlman, then I'm ending certain situations before they even have a chance to begin. And there is a lot of speech in this game, from others. Your own character doesn't have much to say, barring the odd one-liner, and your own speech is silent. It is very common in this style of game. Your creative partners also match this, and only drop one-liners, which mean the world around you has to make up for it, with chatter and exposition. So, enemies will monologue and berate you for things, or spin you a tale about their own situation, so it also helps to have the named characters with you. Certain NPCs react to their presence, and will make comments which would not otherwise happen, and can assist you or create problems in certain areas. The writing was funny, and the outcomes to certain situations were not as obvious as I initially thought, which was a bonus. There is a certain foul-mouthed parrot that can be in the party, whose vocabulary is second to none, and I was mournful when it died. I didn't catch it in time to bring him back. Bad times. And there is one character you meet early in the game, with a tape-learned Scottish accent, brought much amusement. There are multiple ways to get through the game, and different parties you can align yourselves with. It's hard to please everyone all the time, and you will most likely anger certain parties in the game by working with or against others. As a judge, I obviously align with the marshals in the game, but the game is not black and white in right and wrong, And no party totally without sin, it seems. So make your mind up and be prepared for new information over time which may change your outlook. In my next playthrough, I will be changing all my options to see where it takes me and if I missed any content due to my decisions. The graphics in this game are of a good quality for the genre, and character interactions bring up higher quality models which show great character animations with good visual emotions, from anger to amusement or even psychopathic rage. As you spend most of your time zoomed out with a group of 6 characters, the world is most dominant in the screen. There are a lot of details leaving the world around you looking lived in and active. On max settings, this game ran smoothly on my rig, and I hope so too. The news of the new 30 series cards may have rocked the boat, but the 2080 Ti handled its business with Wasteland 3. Outside of foot exploration, you also have a vehicle to explore the outer world, which will take you from zone to zone, where you sometimes get to use the vehicle in combat, and sometimes get ambushed while exploring. The vehicle exploration itself does feel very simple, and felt a little incomplete. You could not move the camera whilst in the overworld, and it felt a little dated compared to the rest of the game. There were certain areas on the map that felt like they should have been missions or story items, but had nothing to do with them. This could have been due to me missing the start of the mission, or not doing the right things, but I don't know at this time. With one area in particular that I came across late game, there was an entry waypoint with a map, but when I got to the map I couldn't do anything with the occupants, and it felt like there was something missing that I could not find. There may be a mission around this, but I don't know. The vehicle itself can be upgraded in a number of ways, from cosmetics to armour and weapons, from miniguns to railguns, spike launchers to goat cannons? Yep, goat cannons. Must be worth a look, right? There is also a mission which can result in the upgrading of your vehicle's AI, which turned out to be a great Easter egg for me, but may be lost on a younger audience. The game is not without its problems. Bugs hindered play at times, and I think I broke a mission or two that I completed in valid ways, but the actual mission log would not recognise this, just left themselves on my list. Or I'd follow one mission route and it would break the next part of the mission, including one near the end of the game which made no sense and caused some confusion when I was tasked to deal with certain gangs' boss characters. A group of enemies with the red ring of awareness challenged me, but when they saw I had one character with me, they said that they would let me through, but the red ring of awareness did not go away, and I was forced into a fight. I could not fight back, as the character in my party would halt the play and threaten to leave the party. I know this is not how the game was meant to be, as many previous encounters in the same situation could be ended with the use of a skill or the presence of a character. The stealth mechanics of the game revolve around enemy characters having red rings around them for their lines of sight or awareness, and you can sometimes walk up to these lines and hang around them for as long as you wish in order to set up the perfect ambush. Whereas other times you can see the enemy's line of sight and walk nowhere near it and spark up a fight where you're on the defensive. This sometimes led to frustrating moments, as the setup is not consistent and could lead to bad setups where you'd have one character in the room and the rest of the party a few turns worth of movement away. There are also a few issues around selecting characters during combat. At times the game would auto-select a character after you've clicked on the other character that you actually wish to use. It would lead to you using the wrong skill or moving in an unwanted way. There are also a few glitches around action points, which helped at times, and other times you would miss a character's turn completely due to not being able to use a character, not through any stun effects, but unable to move or use any action point. There would also be the odd time where a targeting would not work and characters would not perform actions with no explanation. Things seemingly in a straight line of sight would come up as blocked, and other things that were behind walls would be perfectly shootable. I experienced 3 crashes whilst playing the game, which is not bad by all accounts for a new game. One was a frozen loading screen, which needed a restart, and 2 other game crashes randomly whilst in the map or in towns, but I couldn't replicate these. The choices I made did affect the outcome of the game, and there are definitely some things that occurred in the game that I did not expect, and I felt that this was either an error or a strange way to take that option. For example, one option was around an AI construct. I could either allow the AI construct to replace the life of another, killing that life. I could steal the construct for myself, or return it to its people. I chose to return it to its people. In my mind, the good option. I wasn't killing an innocent, and I wasn't stealing. The result, however, from freeing the AI was that the entire faction stated that I was a murderer of their kind and was suddenly hated. It felt like it didn't gel with the way it had been set up. It may have been what the writing team meant, but it didn't sit right. Throughout my first run through, I had ended as many altercations as I could with words and only killed those which I could not otherwise avoid. But one character stated that they were worried about all of my murderous ways, and this was confusing to me, seeing as that within the last gaming hour, that same character had completed a few missions where they themselves wanted to execute an NPC, not in the name of the law, but for personal reasons. And for storyline feeling, I let them do what they wanted, and yet they came to me concerned with me killing bandits. It was very strange. I dealt with judgment calls in line with the law. Attempted murder of a judge is punishable by death. No ISO cubes. I hope this is just something that I am missing, or a glitch that could be fixed or better explained to me, and I'm sure there are fixes on the way to the bugs that have been reported. The other issue that I have around this game is the frequent long load times. Going from zone to zone, there are long load screens, and there is no fast travel, barring the vehicle tow, which brings you back to Ranger HQ. This can make running across the map to go to a place to do a thing a lengthy process, with each long load screen taking you out of the story or gaming loop. This also occurs in towns, where you will have a load screen that leads to a small area where you only need to spend a minute and then have to load again to get back out. These long load screens get even longer the further you get into the game, and I hope this is something that can be addressed. I've seen some people refer to this game as the load screen simulator, and I can understand their frustration. But all in all, I'm very impressed with this game. It's one of the better RPG experiences I've had for a long time. I'd bring it into line with another great experience I've had previously with Divinity Original Sin 2, but Wasteland 3 is in my preferred sci-fi setting over the fantasy of Divinity. I would be happy to go through this game again and use different tactics and weapons and taking different options, but have not even tried the co-op play yet, and I've heard that there are some issues around this feature and would not want to try that until a way down the road once updates have been applied, and would recommend this game to citizens and judges alike. I look forward to any updates and DLC that may come with the game, and would recommend this game to any who enjoy turn-based RPGs or XCOM style gaming, or a decent post-apocalyptic style storyline. It's currently on Xbox Game Pass PC, so it can be played for a period of time for a great price. I have no experience with the Xbox version of the game, but hear that there are some issues that are being looked at so far. So if you intend to play on Xbox, do some research beforehand to see if any of the updates have been applied which fix the known issues. So get out there and experience the Wasteland and make it a better place or a darker place. It's all up to you. Make the Rangers a go-to name or get them infamous. On the count of using excessive load screens, I find you guilty and sentence this game to 5 load screens in the ISO cubes. On the charge of being an enjoyable game with over 50 hours worth of content and a worthy addition to our gamer's collections, I find you guilty. Your sentence, praise from myself. Well done, team. Please can we have some more? If you've liked this video, my first in the realm of YouTube, then chuck me a like. I'm aiming to make more on this game and others. If you want to see more, catch me on Twitch at Hootie1985, where I try to stream most evenings from around 10 PM GMT or Brit City time, when I'm not out enforcing the law in a mega city, of course. Thanks for your time, and remember, Scotchmo is not the law. I'm the law.